यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना जमुनातीरवनचारी यमुनातीरवनचारी जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जयो यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन जमुनातीरवनचारी जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य श्रोत्रसठ श्रीमद अभय चरणारिंद भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य श्रोत्रसठ श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवदीप मायापुर धाम की जय। पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। जमुना माई की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी की जय। सामवेद गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदी हरि हरि। All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 18th chapter, verse 28. Jnananishto virakto va madbhakto vanapekshakah salinganashramam styaktva chareda vidhigocharaha. Jnananishto virakto va madbhakto vanapekshakah salinganashramam styaktva chareda vidhigocharaha. Jnananishto virakto va madbhakto vanapekshakah salinganashramam styaktva chareda vidhigocharaha. Salingana Sareda Vidi Gocharaha Jnanishto Virakto Madbhakto Vanapekshakaha Mataji's Jnana to the philosophical knowledge. Nishthaha, dedicated. Viraktaha, detached from external manifestations. Va, either. Madbhaktaha, my devotee. Va, or. Anapekshakaha, not desiring even liberation. Salingan, with their rituals and external regulations. Ashraman, the duties pertaining to particular statuses of life. Tyaktva, giving up. Charet, one should conduct oneself. Avidhi gocharaha, beyond the range of rules and regulations. Translation. A learned transcendentalist dedicated to the cultivation of knowledge and thus detached from external objects, or my devotee who is detached even from desire for liberation, both neglect those duties based on external rituals or paraphernalia. Thus, their conduct is beyond the range of rules and regulations. Purport by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. This verse describes the Paramhams stage of life, in which there is no further need for rituals, external paraphernalia, or rules and regulations. A completely realized Gyan Yogi pursuing liberation, or beyond that, a perfect devotee of the Lord who does not desire even liberation, has no further desire for material engagement. When one completely purifies the mind, there is no possibility of sinful behavior. Rules and regulations are meant for guiding those who have a tendency to act in ignorance or for personal gratification. But one who is perfect in spiritual consciousness can move freely, as described here by the Lord. One who tends to drive a car recklessly or who is unfamiliar with the local road conditions certainly needs the discipline of elaborate road signs and police enforcement of traffic laws. A perfectly safe driver, however, is thoroughly familiar with the local road conditions. He has no real need for the enforcement officials or the speed limits and caution signs meant for those unfamiliar with the road. A pure devotee of the Lord desires nothing except service to the Lord. He automatically fulfills the purport of all negative and positive injunctions, which is to always remember Krishna and never forget him. One should not, however, artificially imitate the exalted position of a Paramhamsa devotee, for such imitation will quickly ruin one's spiritual career. In the previous verses, the Lord has elaborately described various rituals, paraphernalia, and disciplines for the various spiritual orders of life. The sannyasi, for example, carries a 3-danda and a water pot and eats and lives in a particular way. A Paramhamsa devotee, having given up all attachment and interest in the material world, is no longer attracted by such external features of renunciation. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to the morning Bhagavatam class. Seeking blessings from all the assembled devotees, especially the senior devotees, so that I can speak something for my purification. So in this verse, Krishna is speaking about the status of a person who is at a Paramhamsa stage. So after describing the whole Varnashram system, where he has described the duties of all the Varnas, on ashramas, now Krishna has moved on to the description of Paramhamsa stage of life. And very beautifully in the purport, the disciples of Prabhupada, they are clarifying the verse where it is described that the Paramhamsa devotee, there is no need for him to follow the rules and regulations. So it may be a little confusing and it may give a chance for people in general to misinterpret things. So to clarify things, the devotees, disciples of Prabhupada, they are very wonderfully giving example of a car driver who is so expert that he does not need any rituals, any rules and regulations, because any road signs, because he naturally follows them. Another example I was hearing, so one of the Ramaya Swami Maharaj, he was giving this example that a person who has a fractured leg, his leg has to be put in a cast so that he can get recovered quickly. But after the legs get recovered, there is no need for him to put his leg in the cast. Similarly, the rules and regulations of the Varnashrama are for those who cannot regulate their senses and they need a proper discipline. So that's why these rules and regulations are required. But one who is at a stage of a Paramhamsa, he naturally follows them, and for him there is no need to artificially go into the details of these rules and regulations. So as Srila Prabhupada always said, the behavior of a devotee should be beyond reproach. As Prabhupada said, my devotee should be perfect ladies and gentlemen. So as Chaitanya Charitamrita also describes, Shukla Vastre Mashi Vindu Aichena Lukaya Sanyasira Alpchitra Sarvaloka Gaya. So just like if there is a small black spot on the white cloth, it is seen very prominently. So similarly, even if there is small misbehavior on the part of a devotee or a sannyasi, it is described and glorified, not glorified, it is condemned and talked about by people in general to a large extent. So there are 4 levels of sannyas. First is Kutichak, Bahudak, Parivrajagacharya and Paramhamsa. So Kutichak means a person who takes a sannyas, he lives in a hut next to his home, and then after he has practiced living in a renounced order, he moves on to the next level, which is Bahudak, and in the first level he is still living with his wife, but separate, not in his home. Next, Bahudak, he starts traveling with wife and begs alms. Then third stage is a Parivrajagacharya, where one gives up the association of wife and travels to preach this message of scriptures. And highest is the Paramhamsa stage, who is beyond all the rules and regulations. So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he gave sannyas, he gave Parivrajagacharya sannyas to all the disciples. So what was the need? Why he didn't give the Paramhamsa sannyas? Because at that time, there was a natural tendency that many unscrupulous people, they were taking sannyas and they were not following the rules and regulations because they were taking Paramhamsa sannyas and they were becoming Babajis. And the principle was there was no accountability. No accountability for the social structure. So they would do whatever they want, and it created so much havoc in the society. As a result, Gaudiya Vaishnavism lost the dignity which it had. So that's why Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he gave Paramhamsa Parivrajagacharya sannyas, and that caused accountability. So nobody can behave whimsically. He has to follow the rules and regulations, staying within the Varnashram still, although he is very at a high stage. So even up to the Raganuga Bhakti, the rules and regulations of the scriptures has to be followed. As Rupa Goswami describes in Nectar of Devotion, there are 3 practices which a Raganuga Bhakta also does. First practice is he remembers Krishna with a particular devotee. Krishna Smaran Janam Preshtha. So that means he wants to develop a particular relationship with Krishna, and for that he meditates on that devotee. So this is the one first practice where he is meditating on the relationship with the service, between the service with Krishna has with his devotee. It is Krishna Smaran. Second practice which this devotee does, there are 2 things. Seva sadhaka rupena siddha rupena chatrahi tad bhava lipsana karya vraj lokanusarataha. So Rupa Goswami describes there are 2 things which this devotee, even at the level of bhava bhakti, does. He follows seva sadhaka and siddha rupa both. So what is this siddha rupa and seva sadhaka rupa? So sadhaka rupa is that devotee which is already liberated, but still he is focusing on the activities of a liberated soul while he is in the material world. For example, Rupa Goswami, although he is a Rupa Manjari in the spiritual world, but a devotee who wants to become a Manjari in the Golok Vrindavan, he follows the activities of Rupa Goswami which he does in the material world. So ordinary activities of a sadhaka. So Srila Prabhupada very nicely clarifies this in Nectar of Devotion. He writes, a devotee who is actually advanced in Krishna consciousness, who is constantly engaged in devotional service, should not manifest himself, even though he has attained perfection. The idea is that he should always continue to act as a neophyte devotee, as long as his material body is there. Activities in devotional service under regulative principles must be followed even by a pure devotee. So this is the sadhaka roop which a bhava bhakta also follows. And the siddha roop is, this is not the external, this is the internal meditation of a devotee. So internally he is meditating on the pastimes of Krishna, pastimes of a devotee which he wants to follow in Brajdham. Prabhupada writes, but when he realizes his actual position in relationship with the Lord, he can, along with the discharging of regulative service, think within himself of the Lord, under the guidance of a particular associate of the Lord, develop his transcendental sentiments in following that associate. So when Hridayanand Maharaj, he got sannyas, he asked Srila Prabhupada that how to live a life of a sannyasi. So Prabhupada very clearly, he gave instruction to Maharaj. He said, you should read every day Shad Goswami Astakam. You should follow the footsteps of Shad Goswamis, how they lived in this world. So the problem was, because many people, they would go to some gurus who would give them their Siddha mantra, and they would tell that you are this in the spiritual world. So even in the time of Srila Prabhupada, one devotee, he went to one of the local persons in Vrindavan and he was told that you are a peacock in the spiritual world, So every day in the morning, he would imitate the sounds of peacock and he would jump like a peacock. So then he was told by other devotees that this is not the right way. So this is how we have to understand that we have to purify our desires. As Prabhupada writes, according to Acharyas, realization of one's Siddha Rupa develops gradually by the purified desire of the heart. And if one doesn't follow the rules and regulations, then he may land up becoming a Sahajiya. So Rupa Goswami very elaborately describes the symptoms of a person even at the stage of bhava. Shuddha sattva visheshatma, prem suryamsu samya bhak, ruchibis chittamasrinya kridasav bhavuchyate. So it describes a person at a bhava stage, his heart becomes very soft. And because his heart has become soft, all the ecstatic symptoms manifest naturally, as Kaviraj Goswami also describes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the various ecstatic symptoms, Swed, Kampa, Romanch, Ashru, Gadgad, Vaivanya, Unmad, Vishad, Dhairya, Garva, Harsha, Dainya, Eta Bhave, Prema, Bhakta, Ganera, Nachai, Premer, Anandamrit, Sagare, Bhasai. So these are the symptoms of a person who is at a bhava stage. But the problem is, these symptoms can be imitated. So that's why when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he danced in ecstasy to tell people the mood and sentiments behind these principles, why he is dancing in this way. He instructed all the Goswamis, Rup Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, that you write the literatures. Tumi kariha bhakti shastra prachar, Mathuraya lukta tirthara kariha uddhar. Vrindavane Krishna seva, Vaishnava achar, Bhakti smriti shastra kariha prachar. So he told Rup Goswami, Sanatan Goswami 4 instructions. You build temples, you excavate the holy places, you write literatures, and by your personal example, preach this message of Krishna consciousness. So Vaishnava achar is a very, very important limb of a devotional service. As Sanatan Goswami also tells Haridas Thakur, apane kareha kina apane achare keha na kare prachar, prachar kare na keha na kare achar. Some people, they act, but they don't preach. Some people preach, but they don't act. But he says, achar prachar tumi karaha dui karya. Tumi sarva guru, tumi jagatera arya. But you are doing achar also and you are doing prachar also. Therefore, you are fit to become guru of the whole world. So these symptoms of bhava, they can be easily imitated. And the second problem with this is, a devotee who has these bhava symptoms, he may conceal it. He may conceal the symptoms so that people will not know that this person is at the stage of bhava. So the famous story, one time a person came to the Vrindavan temple and he started dancing and shedding tears in ecstasy. So devotees were thinking that, oh, this person is at the bhava stage. So they went to Prabhupada and they told. So Prabhupada told them, you go and kick him, So devotees were surprised. So then Prabhupada said, if he is really in ecstasy, he will not get affected, But if he is just imitating, he'll go away, So Rupa Goswami describes various symptoms which are the external symptoms which cannot be imitated for a long time. And if somebody has, they cannot conceal it for a long time. So these are the very, very practical symptoms which a sadhaka should have. A bhava stage devotee possesses and a sadhaka should aspire to possess. So when we hear such exalted symptoms, we may think it is very far off thing and I don't have these qualities. Even in Bhagavad Gita, 12th chapter, when Krishna is describing the series of qualities, Adveshta, Sarvabhutanam, Maitra, Karuna, Evacha, he goes on describing. So Prabhupada very wonderfully writes in the purport, a devotee must acquire all these qualifications. Without good qualifications, one cannot become a pure devotee, So we as a sadhaka should also aspire to develop these qualifications. Again in the purport of 13th chapter where the 20 points of knowledge are described, Prabhupada writes, the test of advancement in spiritual science is that these qualities come. We don't need to endeavor separately for it, but we have to observe whether these qualities are coming or not. But if they are not coming, then there is some problem. Just like Chaitanya Charaprabhu gives example, if a person is taking treatment, then what he has to do is to just continue taking the medicines. But also he has to observe that, am I getting cured? If he is not getting cured, that means there is some problem, he has to take some additional steps. For a sadhaka, we have to always aspire to develop these qualities so that one day it becomes naturally ingrained in our system. As the sadhana bhaktis, although we have no taste for Krishna consciousness, but still we practice it because it is given by Guru and scriptures. Kriti sadhya bhavet sadhya bhava sa sadhana bida. So there are few symptoms which Rupa Goswami describes, we will discuss. So first and foremost qualities which is very, very important and Rupa Goswami discusses is avyarth kalatvam, utilization of time properly. So Rupa Goswami describes what all constitutes in this avyarth kalatvam. He says, Vagbhistvanto manasa smarantas tanva namanto apyanisham na yukta bhakta smaran nitra jale samagram ayu harereva samarpayanti. So he says, a devotee, he always tries to glorify Krishna, Vagbhi Stvanto, which is speech. Manasa Smaranta, always try to remember Krishna. Tanva Namanto, always bow down to Krishna whenever opportunity comes. Apyanisham na tripta, but still he is not satisfied doing all these things. So this is how we can see in the life of all the Goswamis and even Srila Prabhupada, they never wasted even a single moment. So there is even one recording of Srila Prabhupada, he was always speaking Krishna consciousness, Krishna Katha. So Gaura Prabhu would tell this, that one of the recordings, Prabhupada, he is brushing his teeth, and somebody is recording also. So the voice of brushing is also coming, and so Krishna is Supreme Personality, So Prabhupada was always Krishna conscious, he was never wasting any time, So one time Srila Prabhupada, he was telling that when he went to America, in India it was very difficult to have a phone landline. But Prabhupada said that when I came to America, I just paid $30 and next day phone was there and telephone was there in my room. And I felt very happy. But then my disciples, even at the middle of the night, they were calling me and telling, Swamiji, how are you? So Prabhupada said, I asked them, is it time to ask this question? So then I got so frustrated that I told the devotees to take out this phone. So that was just a simple landline. And today we have such a powerful gadgets and high technology. So how much we should be careful so that we don't, get swayed away by this. As Gauranga Prabhu was saying once, that the greatest damage is done in the contemplation, in the absorption of contemplation of Krishna is caused by the distraction of gadgets. So this is how we have to be really careful. Bhagavatam also describes Neva vidvanshiyamanam jalam gadh jale charah yathayur anvaham shayam yatha mudha kutumbinaha. So he says, Shukdev Goswami is describing how after the rainy season, when the autumn season comes, so the water which is accumulated in the shallow pond starts decreasing. And the fish which were there in the shallow pond, they don't realize that water is decreasing. And surely after few days, the water evaporates completely and the fish dies. Similarly, yathayu anvaham shayam, every day, every second, the life is decreasing. But a person who is engrossed in family life, he does not realize this. So what we are aspiring for is a very, very difficult thing. It is not so easy to attain bhava and Krishna prem, as Narad Muni also tells about Dhruva Maharaj. After Dhruva Maharaj, he gets darshan of Lord Vishnu. So Narad Muni goes and tells Uttanapad, Sudushkaram karam kritva lokapalay rapi prabhu. So what your son has done, it is sudushkaram, very, very difficult feat to perform even for the lokpals. So that is what he has attained, darshan of Supreme Lord. So that's why we have to understand we have become very, very fortunate. So getting a human life is rare. Getting a human life is in Bharatvarsha is rarer. After taking birth in Bharatvarsha, coming to spirituality is rarer. Practicing genuine spirituality is all the more rare. And even if somebody is genuinely practicing spirituality, trying to find the answers of life, understanding Krishna to be Supreme Lord is all the more rare. Even after understanding Krishna to be Supreme Lord, getting connected to the Parampara is all the more rare. Even after getting connected to Parampara, practicing unalloyed devotion is very, very rare. And the most rare is the time where we are in, where Krishna has come just 5,000 years back and Mahaprabhu has come just 500 years back. So understanding our good fortune, we should take this very, very seriously so that we don't, as Prabhuji always says, we don't miss the bus. So this is the first quality. Second quality which Rupa Goswami describes is perseverance. So perseverance means, he says Shanti. Shanti means perseverance. That means to remain tolerant and patient even amidst great disturbance. So Rupa Goswami quotes the description about Parikshit Maharaj. Tamopayatam pratiyantu vipra ganga cha devi dhritchittam ishe dvijopusrishtam kuhakas takshakova dashatvalam gayat Vishnu gatha. Even though Parikshit Maharaj was cursed, but still he was very equipoised. He gave up everything, went to the banks of the river Ganga, and then he's telling all the sages, I am not disturbed by this curse. You please keep on reciting the glories of Supreme Lord. So that is how a devotee has to be always perseverant, tolerant, even amidst of all the problems. So as a sadhaka, it is said that when we are fighting and struggling with the material energy, it is like fighting in a boxing ring. The defeat is not declared when you fall down, but it is declared when you refuse to get up. So that is how, even when we fall while the practice of bhakti, doing practices, there is no need to get dejected. All what we have to do is again get up, as there is a verse which says, Bhuma uskhalit padanam bhuma vevavalambanam toi jata paradhanam tameva sharanam prabhu. If a person falls down on the ground, he takes shelter of the same ground to get up. So similarly, even if we are not able to chant properly, we take shelter of the same holy name to chant attentively, properly. So that is how we have to be patient. As Krishna also describes, a very hope-giving verse he tells to Uddhava, Badhyamanopi mad bhakto vishayera jitendriyaha praya pragalbhaya bhaktya vishayerna bhivuyate. He says, my devotee, even though he is badhyamano, he is conditioned. Ajitendriyaha, he is uncontrolled in his senses. Vishayer ajitendriyaha. But still, what he does? Prayaha pragalbhaya bhaktya. He is practicing devotional service with all intensity. Pragalbhaya means all intensity. So what will be the result if he is practicing this way? Vishayer na bibhuyate. He will not be defeated by sense gratification. So we also see in the life of Prabhupada how he underwent so many difficulties. His business got destroyed. He went to Jhansi. The League of Devotees didn't come up. Then he went to America in a cargo ship, suffered heart attacks. He was staying in Bauri where so many problems were there, but still he didn't give up. He continued, and the result was he could please Krishna. So this is the second quality. The next quality which an advanced devotee already possesses, but a sadhaka should try to develop, is the quality of detachment, virakti. So Rupa Goswami gives the example of Bharat Maharaj. Yo dustyajan darasutan surid rajyam ridisprishaha jaho yuvaiva malavat uttama shloka lalasa. So although Bharat Maharaj had everything in his life, well-flourishing kingdom, good health, youthful life, but still, dustyajan, it was very difficult to give up. What? Surid rajyam ridisprishaha. His relatives, his kingdom, it is very difficult to give up. But he gave up all this very naturally. Just like a person after passing stool doesn't even look at. So uttama shloka lalasa, because he was desiring for pleasing Krishna. So he says there are two types of detachment. One is vairagya, other is virakti. So vairagya means a taste for sense gratification is still there. but still he is forcibly separating himself from the sense objects. That is vairagya. And virakti means he has naturally become detached from any desire for sense gratification. So that is called virakti. But for a sadhaka, virakti may be very far off thing, but we should continue to strive for developing vairagya. Because if a person, a sadhaka, even if he falls down, he should never give up. So another verse which is very hope-giving, Krishna is telling to Uddhava, which describes a condition of a sadhaka and what is his mentality. He says, Jata shraddho matkathasu nirvinna sarva karmasu veda dukkhatmakan kaman parityago apyanishwaraha. So Jata shraddhu, Krishna is telling to Uddhava that this devotee of mine, his faith has risen in my katha. Nirvinna sarva karmasu, and he has given up all sense gratification. Why he has given up Veda? Because he knows dukkhatmakan kaman. Sense gratification leads to misery, he knows. But still, parityago api anishwaraha. But still he is not able to give it up. Then what does he do? Tato bhajet mam prita shraddhalu drir nishchayah jushamanascha tan kaman dukkho darkam shagarhayan. Tato bhajet. Still he keeps on practicing worshipping me with shraddha and drida nishchaya. But one important thing what the devotee does, although he falls down, he is not becoming indifferent, okay, I fell down because of my conditionings. He repents. He is repentant of his fallen condition. This is a very, very important thing which a sadhaka does. Although he falls down because of conditionings, because of falling in sense gratification, he repents. And then he also gets stated in the proper level of devotional service. So slowly by the practice of devotional service, we also develop the higher taste. As Krishna says, Vishaya vinivartante. We will also develop the higher taste. So Prabhupada writes a very wonderful thing in the purport of this verse, Vishaya vinivartante. He says, one who has tasted the beauty of Krishna in course of his advancement in Krishna consciousness no longer has a taste for dead material things. Therefore, restrictions are there for less intelligent neophytes in the spiritual advancement of life. But such restrictions are only good until one actually has a taste for Krishna consciousness. So, giving up sense gratification is good, but we have to also aspire to develop taste for the various limbs of bhakti. So that's a pure devotee. He is naturally detached from Krishna, from sense gratification. So Bhavanand Prabhu, he was sharing once that he was with Srila Prabhupada in Los Angeles and they would go for morning walk every day. So one day Bhavanand Prabhu, he was absorbed and he was attracted by seeing the very skyscraper buildings and beautiful lawn and the garden. And he was not focused on what Prabhupada was saying. So as he was attracted to all these things, Prabhupada, he coughed. He turned and he spit at that lawn, And then Bhavanand Prabhu got a lesson, that however beautiful, attractive these things may be, if I am attracted towards these, I will lose the actual process. And that's what Prabhupada was showing, that this is all very, very insignificant happiness. So this is the third quality. Next quality, which an advanced devotee already has, but a sadhaka should aspire, is pridelessness. Mana shunyata. So he describes, one feels humble even though he is extremely elevated. So amanitvam and adambhitvam, what is the difference? Amanitvam means not to be proud when we have a reason to be proud. And adambhitvam means not to be proud when we don't have a reason to be proud. So that is how a devotee, he is mana shunya, he does not desire any fame, prestige. As the story of Madhavendra Puri goes, When Gopinath stole kheer for Madhavendra Puri, so the pujari, he came running in the marketplace and he shouting, Madhavendra Puri, toma lagi Gopinath kheer koila churi. So for you, Gopinath has stolen kheer. So Madhavendra Puri does not stay there, because he knew now people will come and they will glorify me, they'll appreciate me, they'll understand me to be a very great devotee. So what was his response? Pratishthar bhay puri gela palaiya, Krishna preme pratishtha chale sange gadaiya. Pratisthar bhay puri gela palaiya. Because of the fear of pratishtha, Madhavendra Puri ran away from the marketplace. But what happened? Krishna preme pratishtha chale sange. If somebody is a great devotee of the Lord, pratishtha follows him. A materialist, he wants to get fame, but he does not get fame. But a devotee, as he advances, he does not want fame, but pratishtha follows him. And all the villagers, even before Madhavendra Puri reached another village, everybody already knew that this is Madhavendra Puri, this is such a great devotee of the Lord. So this is how a great devotee also shows the symptoms of Manashunyata. Kaviraj Goswami, after writing a huge literature of Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is like a super specialization of Krishna consciousness, he is telling, Ami likhiye ha mithya kari anuman, Amara sharir kashtha putali saman. So I am thinking out of false pride that I am writing this. But my sharir is like a kashtha putli. It is like a wooden doll. I am not writing. Krishna is making me to write. He says, Vriddha jara turami andha bhadir, hastahale manobuddhi nahi morasthir. I am an old person. While I am writing, hands are trembling. My mind is non-steady. Nana rog grasta chalite vasite na pari. Pancharoga pida vyakul ratri dine mari. I am inflicted with 5 kinds of diseases. I may die any time. But still he says, Purve grantha iha kari yachi nivedan tathapi likhiye sun ihar karan. I have described about my inability previously also. He has described in Madhya Lila also, Ami Vriddha Jaratur Likhite. But still he is writing. He said, why I am writing this? Shun ihara karan. Please hear why I am writing this. Then he describes a series of the names of all the devotees. He says, Shri Govinda, Shri Chaitanya, Shri Nityananda, Shri Advaita, Shri Bhaktar, Shri Shrotravinda, Shri Raghunath Das, Shri Rupa, Shri Sanatan, Shri Sarupa, Shri Rupa, Shri Sanatan, Shri Raghunath Das, Shri Guru, Shri Jiva Charan. So many devotees taking names. He is saying, Iha sabar charan kripaye lekhaye amare. So because all these devotees, they showed mercy on me. Therefore I am writing. Ar ek hai tehu ati kripa kare. There is one more personality who has given me supreme mercy. Who is that? He says, Srimadan Gopal more kripa lekhaye agya kari, kahite na yuyaye tabu rahite na pari. So Sri Madan Gopal, he has given me instruction. Out of his instruction, he has given me mercy. That's why I am writing. Although, kahite na yuyaye, it is not befitting for me to describe these pastimes because these are all exalted pastimes, but still, I cannot remain silent. I have to write. Why I have to write? Na kahile hai mor kritagnata dosh, dambha kari bali shrota na kari harosh. If I don't write, I will be guilty of kritagnata, ingratitude. Therefore, oh readers of this book, please don't think I am writing out of pride. Dambhakari, don't become angry on me. I am not writing out of pride. I am writing because I have been instructed by these devotees and Supreme Lord Himself. This says, Toma sabar charana dhuli karinu bandhan, tate chaitanya lila haila ekichu likhan. Because all these devotees, they had bestowed me with their mercy. That's why I am able to write Chaitanya Leela a little bit. So that is why a desire for pratishtha, although it is very deeply rooted, but still a practicing devotee should try to come out of this desire. As Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also writes, Jadera pratishtha, shukarera vishtha. Very graphic example he gives. It is like stool of a hog. But still, in a conditioned stage, a sadhaka likes that, And if somebody is praising, a devotee thinks, Aage kahoar, shunite pai shukhe, It is very pleasing. But as we practice Krishna consciousness, slowly we will get purified. As Chaitanya Charitamrita also says, when somebody appreciates us, we should accept that respect out of etiquette, but we should not expect the respect, If somebody is appreciating, we should not say, no, 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 I don't have anything. But you have those qualities, So that means you should not say, I don't have the qualities, accept it, but you should transfer it to Guru and Krishna. It is by their mercy, as shown by Kaviraj Goswami. It is by their mercy I am writing. It is not that I don't have qualities. I have some qualities, but it is mercy of Krishna, So this is the fourth quality. Fifth quality which a devotee, advanced devotee already has, but a sadhaka should aspire for is he is asha bandha. He has hope against hope. And what is that hope? Rupa Goswami says, firm faith that Krishna will deliver one to the highest perfection, even though one feels low and utterly unqualified to achieve it on his own. So a sadhaka and a pure devotee also, he thinks, on my own I cannot do anything. But I have faith that Krishna will show mercy. I have faith in Krishna's mercy. On my own I cannot do anything. I don't have any love for Krishna. As Sanatana Goswami also saying, I don't have any taste for chanting. I don't have any taste for doing any limb of bhakti. But still, because you are merciful, that's why I am hopeful, So, Dhanudhar Maharaj writes in the commentary of Waves of Devotion, he says, due to self-realization, one becomes fully aware of how insignificant and helpless one is. It is impossible for him to achieve anything on his own. Thus, the devotee becomes despondent. However, self-realization also causes one to understand the omnipotence of the Lord. That Lord is omnipotent. I am insignificant, but Lord is omnipotent. He can do anything. As Haridas Thakur is telling Sanatana Goswami, Maharaurav haite toma karila uddhar kripar samudra Krishna gambhir par. Krishna has delivered you from the Maharaurava hell. Although Sanatana Goswami is a pure devotee, but still, Haridas Thakur is saying, because Mahaprabhu has given you mercy, he has instructed you, given you association for so many days. So it is extreme mercy of the Lord, So Bhaktivinoda Thakur also writes in his book Jaiva Dharma, he says, Krishna manifests his achintya leela so that a conditioned jiva can get attracted to these pastimes. As Kaviraj Goswami also says, Krishnera yateka khela sarvottama nara lila nara vapu tahara swarup. The pastimes of Krishna as a human, they are very, very attractive. And that's how a person who is conditioned may get attracted. So he says, Krishnera madhuravani sun sanatan erupeda ekakan dubai sabat tribhuvan sarva prani kare akarshan. So the pastimes of Krishna can attract all the living entities. But the problem is still the conditioned soul does not get attracted. That's why Krishna comes and shows his pastimes. And his compassion is such that even Brahmaji gets bewildered. Sadveshadi vaputana pisakula swameva deva pita. So you gave position of mother to Putana. So what is the hope for Brajvasis? Yad dhamartha surit priyatma tanaya pranashaya stotkrite. Who have given their everything in your service. What is the destination for them? So that's how Krishna is so very merciful. But still living entities does not get attracted. Then Krishna comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself to teach. Apani kari aswadane shikhaila bhaktagane prema chinta mani prabhudhani. Nahi jane stan astan yare tare kailadan Mahaprabhu data shiromani. So he is tasting himself the nectar of the holy names and shikhaila bhaktagane. He is teaching by his personal example because he is prema chinta mani dhani. Therefore, he is not thinking who is qualified, who is not qualified. He is distributing this love of God to everyone, without even discrimination. Any discrimination. So therefore, the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are all the more attractive and they tell the intricacies of action and behavior of a devotee. So therefore, one should strive to develop this quality, Next quality which advanced devotee possesses and a sadhaka should aspire for is samutkantha, eagerness for achieving the desired success. That is called laulyam. So Prabhupada writes, Actually, this eagerness is the price for achieving success in Krishna consciousness. As Rupa Goswami also says, Krishna bhakti ras bhavita mati kriyatam yadi kutopi labhyate tatra laulyam api mulyam ekalam janma koti sukritir na labhyate. So if you want to develop this taste for Krishna consciousness, buy it wherever it is available. But to buy, you have to pay something. What is the price you have to pay? Tatra laulyam api mulyam. This is the only price we have to pay. We have to be greedy about getting it. If we are not greedy about it, then janma koti sukritir na labhyate. Even if we practice millions of lives, we will not be able to achieve it. As the pastime of Raghunath Das Goswami comes. He was so eager to attain Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lotus feet. He was running away every day. So the mother of Raghunath Das Goswami, he is telling to his father, Putra batul hoilai haya rakha bandhiya, tara pita kahe tare nirvinna haya. He is saying, mother is saying, Putra is going mad. Bandha rakha bandhiya, please tie him up. Tara pita kahe. His father he was already sad. He says, Indra samaishware stri apsarasam. Ei sab bandhite nari leka yaraman. He has opulence of Indra and Apsara, wife like Apsara. If all these cannot bind him, how can a rope bind him? He says, Chaitanya Chandrera kripa hayya che yare. Chaitanya Chandrera batul kera khite pare. So he has received mercy of Chaitanya Chandra. And if somebody receives the mercy of Chaitanya Chandra, who can keep the madman of Chaitanya Chandra? And he ran away ultimately, and he was running through the forest. Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Charane Chintiya Patha Chhadi Upapathe Yayana Dhaya. All the while he was contemplating on the feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. And Patha Chhadi was not going from the main street because he knew his father would be sending guards. Upapathe Yayana Dhaya. He was running through the forest. Grame grame patha chhadi yaye vane vane. Kai mano vakya chintye Chaitanya Charane. He was running through the forest all the while remembering the lotus feet of Chaitanya Chandra. So that's how a devotee should be eager. Try to develop this eagerness to attain Krishna. Sometimes, one time Radha Govind Maharaj was telling that he was giving a class in a village, and in village it is a tradition that if Krishna Katha or Satsang is going on, no one should get up in between. So Katha was going on 1 hour, 2 hours. Then Maharaj was giving class in Hindi. So he said, Kisi ko kuch prashna hai? So one person raised his hand. He said, Kya prashna hai aapko? So he said, Maharaj, ye Katha khatam kab hogi? So that was his eagerness, So next quality which an advanced devotee possesses and a sadhaka should aspire is to develop the attachment for the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. Nam gane sada ruchi. So this is a very crucial symptom which cannot be imitated by any ordinary person. As a famous pastime, we have heard that Bhakti Siddhanta devotees were complaining about Akinchan Krishna Das Babaji. He was chanting whole day. So devotees went to Saraswati Thakur and they said that this devotee is only chanting, not doing any service. So Saraswati Thakur said, okay, if you think what he is doing is not so significant, put an ad in the newspaper. Job description, chant 18 hours a day. We will provide food, residence, clothing, everything. And the advertisement was there for 1 month. Nobody turned up. So it is very difficult to imitate this quality of a devotee, a pure devotee, to have attraction for Krishna's holy names. Nam gane sada ruchi. But we see in the life of Prabhupada, he had such a firm faith and attraction for Krishna consciousness and holy names. Just by chanting the holy names of the Lord, he transformed hippies into happies. Even when Srila Prabhupada was taking sannyas, so many devotees were chanting so many mantras of sannyas, but Prabhupada, he had told Akinchan Krishnadas Babaji, you continue chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. This is the very, very important. This is the most important thing. Even when Krishna Balram Mandir was getting installed, Prabhupada called all the local Brahmanas to do installation, but Prabhupada said, we are doing because we have to maintain our public image. But our main principle is we should do Harinam. And he told devotees all the while we should be chanting. So devotees, pure devotees have firm faith in holy names. Nama Gane Sadaruchi. Next quality which a devotee should possess, aspire is Asakti Tad Gunakhyane, addicted to glorifying Krishna's qualities. So that is the quality which a devotee should possess. And the last quality, actually we should try to possess this quality of glorifying Krishna's glories, because if we are not glorifying Krishna, Maitreya Muni says that although I am not qualified to glorify and describe the pastimes of Krishna, but still I am doing. Why? So that my tongue should not become unchaste. Tathapi kirtayamanga yathamati yathashrutam kirtir hare swam satkartum giram anyabhida asati. So my tongue should not become unchaste. Therefore I am glorifying Krishna's qualities. And Srila Prabhupada writes in one of the purports to very wonderful verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He says, Kaviraj Goswami says, Ye lila amrit vine khaye yadi anna pane tabe bhaktera durbala jivan yare kabindu pane utfullita tanumane hase gaye kare nartane. So if a person is not tasting the pastimes of Krishna and he is just eating food, still tabe bhaktera durbala jivan, he will become weak in his spiritual life. But if he practices, tastes one drop of this nectar, then he will be rejuvenated. Hase gaye kare nartane. So Prabhupada writes, all devotees connected in Krishna consciousness movement must read all the books which have been translated. Otherwise, after some time, they will simply eat, sleep, and fall down from their position. Last quality which a sadhaka should aspire is Priti Tad Vasati Sthale. One should try to develop attraction for the place of the pastimes of the Lord. As Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Gaura Mare Sabasthane Karila Brahmana Range Se Sabasthane Heribo Ami Pranai Bhakata Sange. So we should also try to aspire to go to those places. So we'll stop here. So we discussed there are 4 types of sannyas and why Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave Parivrajyakaracharya sannyas. And we discussed the symptoms of bhava and how a sadhaka should try to possess these qualities, and the 9 qualities which a bhava bhakta possess and a sadhaka should try to develop is Shanti, Avyartha Kalatvam, Virakti, Mana Shunyata, Asha Bandha Samutkantha, Namagane Sadaruchi, Asakti Stad Gunakhyane, Priti Stad Vasati Sthale. So with this we'll end this. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Huh?